Hey y'all, how's it going? I am going to show you how to make a video with CapCut on your phone. So I'm kind of filming here with one device and also recording my screen at the same time. If you're curious, I've got my iPhone, which is what I do most of my editing on. I use CapCut Mobile for that. And then I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. And then I have the DJI Mic Mini plugged into that. So hopefully that's helping the audio quality out a little bit. And then what I'll do later is I'll overlay my screen recording, which you're seeing up on the screen now, but I'm gonna overlay that in CapCut over top of this video. So that's a whole other thing. And getting the video from one phone to the other, I usually just use something like Google Drive, but we can cover that in a different video. So editing, so we're in CapCut, we're gonna tap on new video, and then I'm gonna pick this video right here that I made, and you could start with a video, you could select multiple, you could select photos, it has live photos, and up here at the top, you see it says recents, and then it has my name. I think that's my space saved, like I pay for CapCut Pro, and I have a cloud storage thing with them. And then library. So recents, you could actually go in and find, tap on that to see other albums that are on your phone. And yeah, if you don't see what you want right away on the screen here. So I'm gonna select this one video clip, 32 seconds that I made just a second ago. It's kind of goofy, just to give you a heads up, but yeah, I'm gonna pull that up. And then in the center here, we're gonna hit play.
Hello.
And you're hearing it right now.
How's it going? This is a video that we are going to
long pause.
Edit, and I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out. Let's see what the result is like when we're done. Ooh, take two, because the microwave just beeped. I don't know if you heard that.
Okay, so that's the clip, 32 seconds long. I left in a couple pauses intentionally, and then I let, I had the microwave going. And when that beeped, I was like, oh, that's perfect. I can show you all how to cut something out there too at the end. So there are a couple approaches to editing, and one of them is to start from the front and go forward, and the other is to start from the back and go backwards. And the thought behind starting from the back is that usually if you do multiple takes of something, your last take is always going to be your best one. You know, if you just did one take, then that's the take you have. If you did two takes, chances are the second take is better than the first one. If you did 17 takes, you were probably happy enough with the last one to decide in that moment of while you're filming to decide to move on to the next section, right? Like, okay, that was good enough, or one of those will be good enough. Usually the last one is fine. And in some cases, it's one of the ones in the middle, but you know, so some people like to edit from the back. I'm just gonna do it from the front because this is a short clip and it's pretty easy. So what will I do here first? So let's trim out some of the space at the beginning.
Hello.
So there's a couple seconds there that I don't want, right? So we can click on this thing in click on this clip in the viewer here, and you can grab the front thing and literally shorten it, or, you know, we can do it that way. I could start it there. Let's say I did that.
Hello.
And that's great, that's where I want it. But let's say, actually I changed my mind. Bring that footage back. I can drag it back and it will go, until that clip ends, basically, or however much of that clip there is. It won't make footage that isn't there. So the other way to do it is to put a splice in. And that is, or a split, you see in the bottom left corner of the screen here, just to the left of the volume and the animations thing. So when you tap that, it's actually gonna make an incision, you know? So let's figure out where we want that to go. And maybe I want it just before that little nod, and I'll put a split there. And now you see it automatically selected what comes after the split. I can tap anywhere in this black space to deselect things. and there you can see my split. And I just want to tap on this, and then I'm going to tap the trash can at the bottom right to delete, and now that is gone. Same as before, if I wanted to bring it back, I could just drag it back, and there's my footage again. And then I'm like, no, actually I didn't want to drag it back. I'm going to hit this undo button kind of in the middle right next to the diamond here. So I'm going to tap that. So this brings me back to my cut, my nod,
Hello.
and my hello. Okay. So now let's cut out a little bit more stuff.
How's it going? This is a video that we are going to...
So that's a good place to do a split. And there was a lot of dead space here.
edit.
Okay, I paused it right as I started to speak, and I actually have to go back a little bit because that is where the silence was before words came out of my mouth. Look at my face there. Isn't that goofy? All right, click on that. And now that's just going to be an instant cut.
That we are going to edit.
All right, definitely making some goofy faces here. And I could shorten this just a pinch, I think.
That we are going to...
Oh, and it stopped abruptly.
This is a video that we are going to edit.
And I didn't like how harsh that was, so I want to drag a little bit more back out of that. There should be...
Video that we are going to... We are going to edit.
So that's kind of a feel thing, and you can decide how much space you want in there. If you want to get more precise with it, you would just expand. And I'm using 2 fingers to do that. You can't really see that right now. And then I've got a little bit more flexibility here. Like you have more space to work with over less time, I guess is one way to say that. So I can trim some of that out.
Video that we are going to...
Ooh, I didn't want to shorten it that much, so I'll just hit the undo button. And I'm not going to be a perfectionist here. This is just to show you how to do these things. So I'm going to move into the next thing I want to cut out, which I think is right after the word edit.
To edit.
And then I had another goofy long pause.
And I purposely left in a long...
All right. So I can shorten that a little bit, and I can shorten this a little bit. Okay. And actually this needed to be shortened a little bit. Okay, so let's see how this sounds.
This is a video that we are going to edit, and I purposely left in a long pause.
All right, now I moved it a little bit there after the word pause, because when you say an S, there's a little drag, you know, the S drags out, and I don't want to cut it off too soon, or it might sound unnatural. So I stopped on that word, and then on that S, and then I moved it just a little bit slightly forward. Now I'll trim it.
In a long pause. So.
And I'm gonna come back to so, and I'm gonna tap there and hit my split again. And I'm just gonna tap on this and just delete it. So that is cut out, and let's see what that sounds like.
Left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out.
Okay, and I could even make that a little shorter.
In a long pause. Left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out.
If you're seeing how sometimes when I'm replaying it, it gets to the end of a clip and it like pauses abruptly, that's when like something is selected and you hit play. So see how this clip is selected? It has larger white bars on the left and right that you can drag and stuff. That are kind of like the brackets that are kind of outlining the clip. If it's selected and you're playing, then it's gonna stop playing when it gets to the end of that section. Watch.
Long pause.
And then it highlights the next section. So you need to tap in this anywhere in the black space down below to get rid of that, to have nothing selected, and then hit play.
In a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out.
So that it can go over the bar line, so to speak. All right. So I think we're close here.
Chopping that out. Let's see what the result is.
Okay, there's another pause I can take out.
Chopping that out.
I like cut it right before I open my mouth like a dummy. So I chop it there. And maybe there. and I'll tap on that and delete it.
That out. Let's see what the result is like.
Ooh, that was an even longer pause.
Let's see.
So like right there, I'm just gonna drag this one and see how that goes.
Chopping that out. Let's see what the result is like when we're done.
Okay, and then I don't want any of this.
Ooh, take two.
Because the microwave is beeping, right?
Like when we're done.
So like right there, and I split it, and I can take the end and just hit delete, and it's gone. And now here's my modified clip.
Hello, how's it going? This is a video that we are going to edit, and I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out. Let's see what the result is like when we're done.
Okay, cool. So there's a little bit more you can, well, there's a lot more you can do with editing, but this is like the first thing that you should do. So you should get all of your A-roll footage, which is like your main footage, not the extra stuff or the scenes that you cut to or the extra camera, you know, like not the stock footage, like none of that, but just the main baseline footage you want underneath of everything. You want to load up all your A-roll footage into the editing app. You want to place it sequentially. And I don't know if the camera's going to turn that around. So you want to place it in order. And then you want to chop out all the parts that you don't want, all the awkward silences, all of the like double takes, all of the ums and the, you know, anytime you flubbed or didn't sound great. I'm leaving a lot of that stuff in this video because this is a little bit more impersonal, and I'm just trying to show you how I edit my videos. So, but the first step is always load in all your A-roll, and then the second step is always to trim out the unwanted pieces. And you do those two things before you do anything else with the edit, before you start messing with transitions, or before you start throwing text on top of stuff, or captions, or before, or titles or anything like that, before you start having overlays or B-roll, and that's where on top of your A-roll, you're throwing something else. And that might be like an object coming in on the side of the screen, or dropping down, or just popping and appearing, or that might be something taking up the whole screen, but it's different than the A-roll footage. So it's like an overlay, it's over top of it. Before you add music, before you add any filters, well, sometimes you do the filters first. We'll cover that later. But you just do those two things first. Add in all your A-roll footage, and then snip out all the parts that you don't want and get those gone, and try to have the flow and the pacing be nice when you listen back to it. You know, like there's not too much of an awkward gap between the end of one clip and the beginning of the next one. So there's a lot more you can do, debating whether or not to get into all that now. You can click on something. Let's see. Let's do this just because it's fun. I'm clicking on this one thing here in the middle, and I'm just gonna stretch it out and zoom in just to kind of be funny, okay? And so now that one is gonna pop in like that and then pop out when it goes to the next clip. So let's watch that.
Hello, how's it going? This is a video that we are going to edit, and I purposely left in a long pause.
Okay, so if you're trying to zoom in for dramatic effect, if you're trying to zoom in to be funny, if you're trying to zoom in for whatever the reason you wanted to zoom in was, that is one way that you can do it. You can also do these things gradually, and I'll show you that real quick. Let's do it on this one. Here.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
Okay, we're gonna do something with, shoot, what are these called? I'm forgetting what these are called. I'll put it on the screen. Key something, I forget. Key mark, no, that's not it. Anyway, doesn't matter. The little diamond thing, it's the same in like all video editors. It basically is a placeholder. Like it locks in everything that's in that moment, like all the settings, all the zoom, all the, anything you could possibly change about your editing. It locks it in at that specific moment. And so you can anchor some of these. You can put one over here and one over here, and then take this one over here and like zoom in or zoom out a little bit, And so what'll happen is as the footage flows, it'll like slowly transition from one to the other. Okay. So I'm going to drop one of these key thingies that I can't remember the name of right there at the end of the clip. And I'm going to drop one near the beginning of the clip. And then I'm going to come back to the end and I'm going to get to where it's highlighted, right? So this white bar is over top of it. And now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. And then watch what happens. That zoom is gradual now.
Pause so that we can practice chopping that out. Let's see what.
Okay, so nice gradual zoom.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
Now see how that transition from it being this big to this big is like steady and consistent? You can change that by hitting this little graph thing to the left of the diamond. And there's so linear.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
Linear is what it is by default. But you can ease in or do any of these other shapes. And basically that it's going to change how rapidly it moves in sections. So let's do a dramatic example here. The cubic in.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
So it's a little bit slower on the zoom at first, and then it does it much faster when you do that one.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
See how that was a little faster? And let me exaggerate this even further. Let me just like really zoom in here. Okay, so we can see.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
So see how I got a little faster towards the end? Now, let me change that again so you can see a different example. Here's one cubic out. So it's maybe faster up front.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
And then it slows down towards the latter half of the transition. So it's like fast in this section, and then it's slower there. Now here is cubic ease is one of my.
So that we can practice chopping that out.
That's one of my favorite ones because it's kind of like, it's really smooth overall. It's like a little slow to start, and then you get a nice push in the middle in the zoom, and then it slows down, but it doesn't completely stop. So it's not rigid. It's like it's fluid on all ends. The cubic ease is one of my favorite ones. And I think if you watch Ali Abdaal videos, you'll notice this one a lot where he's kind of like to emphasize a point. It's like it's starting to zoom in a little bit, and then it does it a little bit faster, but then it kind of slows down before it totally stops. You really have to be paying attention to notice it. So once you start editing videos, you're going to notice all kinds of things about how people edit their YouTube videos. So this is the cubic ease. I'll do it one more time here.
And I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out. Let's see what the result is like when we're done.
Okay. So that's that.
Hello.
And yeah, you can do a lot more in here. I'll do some other tutorials. This one has been about 18 minutes long, and I feel like I've only shown you a few things, and I've probably done a lot of rambling. So we will stop. And in the next one, we can talk about some transitions. We can talk about fixing the audio. We can talk about filters. We can talk about overlays, all of that stuff. I'll show you an overlay real quick. If you wanted to do an overlay, you would basically get to where you want it to happen, maybe like here, and then you hit overlay, and you hit add overlay, and then maybe you want it to be a video. Here's a video. Me listening to a jazz song. And that is here now. That's over the footage. So you can stretch it and have it where you want. You can move it off to the side. You can have it move, and there's motion and stuff that you can get into later. You use those little diamond key things for that as well. But yeah, then this is actually how I'm going to do this video that you're watching. Is I have this screen recording of my phone, and I will overlay it over top of the video that I'm filming with the S23 Ultra. So yeah, so you put that wherever you want it, and then we can chop it. By the way, if you snap, like if you touch something, the little white bar will kind of snap to a position, and then I can split, and I can delete that, and I'll tap on this overlay, And maybe I don't want the volume. I just want the visual.
Left in a long pause.
So I don't want you to hear what's happening in the overlay. I want you to hear what's happening in the A roll. So I turned the volume down on the overlay. So now this is what that looks like.
Edit, and I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice chop.
Cool. So making a really goofy video here. If you wanted this thing to slide in, or let's say you wanted to move it across the screen, let's do this. Let's do a little diamond key thing on that, and another one at the end. But then let's move it at the end. So this is what happens.
And I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice.
Cool. So now it just moves across the screen. And let's say I don't want it to jump into the screen like that, like it just kind of appears. We can hit on animations, and there's animations in and out and combo. So like choose the one you're focusing on. I want to do, what's the animation I want when it comes into the frame? And I want it to slide in from the right. So that's called slide left. And then I want that to happen relatively quickly. Let's say over 0.3 seconds. And then I'll hit animations again actually and go to out. And I want it to slide left again, just to continue on. And I want that to happen relatively quickly. Okay, so let's see how that whole thing looks.
Edit, and I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice.
Okay, so still a little jumpy, and I would play around with the settings there, like how fast that animation is. Or maybe even, it's kind of jumpy there, so maybe I need to move my, my key things. Maybe I need to get rid of this one and just put it back over here. I actually need to wait for the animation to come all the way in first. And there is where I can drop the first key. And then maybe here is where I can drop the other one. I'll move it. Whoop. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Left in a long pause so that we can practice.
Okay, so trial and error, but you get the idea. So here's our final little video.
Hello, how's it going? This is a video that we are going to edit, and I purposely left in a long pause so that we can practice chopping that out. Let's see what the result is like when we're done.
And that's it. All right, so have a little video. You can add an ending. The editing is like made on CapCut. No, I don't want that, so delete that. You can have it fade out. You can do all kinds of stuff. We'll get into all that in a future tutorial, but I hope that this was helpful for you. And then if you're gonna export this, actually, before we jump off of this video, make sure to check your export settings. So just to the left of the export button where it says AI Ultra HD, you want to, if you want 4K, export it in 4K, do that. If you want to set your frame rate higher, or maybe you like one of these, I usually just leave it at 30. And code rate is like how much information there is overall in the video file. So higher is a higher quality video, but also takes up a lot more space on your phone. I usually just leave it at recommended. I'm exporting most things at 4K, and I'm typically not using that feature. I'll toggle that off, but either way is fine. And then you hit export, and then you wait for it to export. And when it's done, you're done. You can upload it or do whatever you want. All right, so we're done. All right, thank you for watching. Bye.